So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by The Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields and I'm big.
And I'm Marit Gabrielsen and I'm the tiny one.
Welcome back in the hot seat. How you doing, Marit? Good to see you, man. It's so good.
It's a triggered question. Actually quite interesting when you think about it. We talked about this, not on the podcast, but we have talked about it before. You know, when you ask people, so how are you doing? And if you can ask it as a just polite phrase. But then also when you actually are the person you are asking having to take a stand and think about how they are.
Yeah.
When you get those 25 times a day or 5 times a day, that's kind of exhausting.
Yeah, it can be. That's one of those things also with, mourning processes as well. I remember when my mother died and there was a really well-meaning kid, he's a young guy, 19, 20 years old, just, full of enthusiasm and immortal, completely bulletproof in every way, and just didn't have any pain, suffering, or any experience in his life. And he just kept coming up to me and like, dude, how you doing today? Are you okay? And I'm just like, oh, fuck. I just forgot just for a moment that my mom died like just
and I'm not doing okay.
I'm not doing okay. And I can't really talk about it here anyway. So stop asking me. But you appreciate the love and care. That's the paradox, and everything's like paradoxical, right?
And it's not that people shouldn't ask the question. Of course, it's nice, but sometimes you're just like, stop asking. So loaded question.
And that's an interesting thing you're bringing up, though. We talk about being total, right? And everything's good and bad. It's not just good, or it's just not just bad. Everything's, it's double-sided, and polar. That's the universe we live in. And the light and the dark and the good and the bad and all that stuff is inside us. And I remember a guy saying, well, that's not true because being positive is just good, isn't it? And I'm like, no, there's something called toxic positivity. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Well, it's kind of like this. Is it true or not true that your mind is a very powerful thing?
Extremely powerful.
Yeah, the way you look at your life, the way you perceive things dictates how your heart and mind and body work together, right? So people have actually cured themselves of cancer by laughing and being positive and looking at good things, right? That's true. We know that's to be true. Your immune system works better when you're in a positive state of mind. The issue is that when it's then used against you, you died of cancer because you weren't positive enough. You didn't get to, you weren't able to be positive. You're a negative person, right? There is such a thing as putting a person in a box like we talked about last time, which is, but you're happy. So you can't be unhappy if you're a happy person.
You're always happy. You always smile. You're always something.
You have money. So therefore you can never be in a situation where you need a buck, right? Or need some cash or need help with something. That's completely wrong. But you're strong. But you're happy. You're good. You're positive. Or, man, you're really fucking sick. What did you do to deserve that? That's one of those really crappy things that people are on. Well, in the alternative world, it's like, well, why did you do that to yourself, bro? What do you mean? It was a car accident. Like, I got hit from behind. Yeah, but you create everything in your life. So why did that happen to you? Why did you do that? But on the other side, you do create a lot of the things in your life with this karmic idea, right? The choices that you make constantly. But that doesn't mean that everything that happens to you is because of something that you've yourself done, right?
No.
So it's like, why did you do it? You must have deserved it. It's kind of like this old puritanical thinking that God's punishing you for something, right? But the universe is so complex and things are happening all the time and things are what they are. Not in that, oh, I give up and shit's just happening and I have no control over my life. But you first have to accept what is so that you can work with it, right? So toxic positivity is just like toxic femininity or toxic masculinity, or there's a lot of these buzzwords that keep going around in different arenas, right? To understand what that is, it's interesting because it's like everything has two sides, and what side are you going to put yourself on? How are you going to evaluate what's going on? And that comes back to the thing that I wanted to talk about today, and that is spiritual seekers, drug tweakers, and freaks. Right? So we know that our lives are high and low, dark and light, happy and sad, inward and outward, high energy, low energy. You will find some of this in your life and you say, oh, well, I'm mostly happy, or I'm mostly energetic. Well, yeah, but you're going to have times when you're not, right?
I think it's, well, first of all, I think if you're listening to this podcast, you're already one step in front of everyone else. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, well. Anyways, yeah. Well, sorry, we just had a big misclip. Well, we figured that thing out later. Well, things happen.
Yes, exactly. Just as we're talking about this,
yes.
Our camera goes away because suddenly the computer decides it's going to update in the middle of
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
right?
What I think I was trying to say is that if you're listening to this podcast, you already step in front of everyone else. Because I think a lot of people, because you say that we have positives and negatives in light and dark, but I think a lot of people will say they don't have it.
Yeah, right. Because they just haven't spent the time.
Or they haven't either they are avoiding looking at it, saying I could never do that, I would never be that, that's not me, that's not who I am, or they are they're just really blind. They don't even know that they're not looking at it. And they're just existing.
Exactly.
Things people are throwing shit kicks in their face and they don't even know they're shit kicks in their face.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And you know what the evolutionary solution for that is? Having kids. Right? I say that because all of your unconscious aspects come out in your children and they basically trigger you like crazy, If you're hyper controlling, you're going to have a crazy kid usually, the kids, if you're hanging out with hippie parents like I was, right? Then you become very, very structured and ordered. That's kind of like how I've lived, right? So it's very interesting.
Yeah, if you live in a messy home growing up, you will have a clean home.
Yeah, you definitely.
Yourself.
Yeah, very often these things are true. Not 100%, but you'll see these trends. But often you see
that. Well, you find yourself in your parents all the time, but you also see things that you went opposite.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So finding this polarity. So. Spiritual seekers, drug tweakers, and freakers, it's an interesting theme because no matter where you are, there you are. So being able to handle your business inside yourself is so important. So people who are not going through some kind of internal process of knowing who they are, knowing what they are, knowing what they want in their lives, it's like, what is the meaning of life? Well, it's to express your complete, unique soul on this planet. You're given all of these qualities, all of these abilities. Okay, great. But why are you here? To express yourself. But if you don't know who yourself is, if you never took the time to order inside how are you going to find some of that order outside? You can achieve the most amazing things, but if it's not in tune with who you really are inside, then it'll never be satisfactory. You know, the greatest gift, the greatest joy is to thoroughly throw yourself into what you are put here to do. And you're like, well, geez, how do I figure that out? Look inside, learn about yourself, right? And that's why it's so important to have an internal process, whether you want to call it a spiritual process, a process of self-discovery, if you want to go to a psychologist and work that way for performance, if you want to go to a performance coach, if you want to put yourself into situations where you have to face your internal workings, turmoil, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. It's a valuable process. And one of my athletes was like, yeah, but it's just about doing the thing, right? Just like my technique. And I'm like, no, man, if you have a civil war going on the inside, it's kind of hard to wage war on the outside. Of course, this is a combat athlete, so I have to talk about war. But the whole point is that if there's disruption and a lack of congruent polarity, and that's a thing, congruent polarity you'll always have, and that's where energy comes from. And congruent means you're understanding both sides, the positive and the negative, right? But if you have that congruent polarity going, you're going to have energy and focus. But if you don't, you're going to have turmoil and suffering because you're going to be all the way one side and then all the way on the other side. It's like, oh, I'm a very happy person, except when you're not. And when you're not happy, your world crashes. Oh, I'm only good. I'm an excellent warrior. But then you lost a battle. Oh, who am I? Shitty. Exactly. It's like understanding that every moment contains all of these polarities. And if you can have a congruent relationship with them, you have lots of energy and presence. And you can accept that moment for what it is instead of constantly being kicked to the side, run into the ditch, because it's not what you expected. It's not what you thought it could be. It's not all that you wanted, right? So if you're looking for direction in your life, you're looking for that ultimate pleasure, if you're looking for unconditional love, then you have to start with that and that inner process. So that's one of the reasons we're going to be doing a meditation event in Flom, so that people can get started with their deep work, because it's a deep work, because it's just understanding the surface, superficial qualities that you have as a person doesn't really allow you to free yourself up in your everyday, right? So if you want to see how free you are, there's a little experiment you can do. You ready to hear about it? It's pretty cool. What you can do is you can just sit in a chair and you close your eyes and you watch your breath. Now, watch your breath and see how fast your mind starts to control it. See if you can look at your breath go in and out without actually deciding, because you're breathing all the time, right?
So I'm saying if you're walking, try it. Push pause on the podcast and try it.
Yeah, don't do it while you're driving.
If you're driving, do not do it right now.
Our friends in Japan and Hong Kong, they like to drive and listen to us, right?
So don't do it if you're driving. If you're on your couch, stop the podcast. Try it now. And now you're back.
And we're back. Yeah. Okay. Well done. So if you were able to allow your breath to go organically and not control it as you were watching it, then you have the ability to let go of things in your life. There are a lot of things that we try to hold on to and control that we actually have no control over, right? We have no way to run that, but our minds are hanging on to it. What's going to happen? What do I expect? How are they going to behave now? And what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for future expectation and disappointment, right? Instead of collecting that energy and focus in the moment and working as well as we can here. Because if you plant the right seeds in this moment, the next moment's going to be much better, right? So instead of ending up in this, oh, that steak that I bought better be cooked 100% well, because if it didn't, I put all this work on getting the steak, and and you walk into tasting that steak and it's all about the judgment and if it was good enough, instead of tasting it and being there in that moment and enjoying it with your friend. So that's everything. It's not just a steak, right? So if you want to learn how to handle your life, you have to first handle your internal business, your internal environment.
Don't you think that scares a lot of people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we have to face the fact that we're not always nice. We're not always good. We're not always online with what people want from us. How scary is it not to be socially acceptable?
Big time.
Right?
I have lived in that for a long time now. It's horrible. But right now I'm like, excuse the language, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm tired of having to, and of course you have to, sometimes you are the wife and sometimes you go to the dinner parties, and of course, but I'm tired of having to be something I'm not. Mm-hmm. And that does not mean be a unicorn. If you're a unicorn, you still pay your taxes and you work hard and you try to make things better. But I'm tired of letting other people, like we talked about last time, put me in a box. I don't want to be in that box.
Don't put Marit in a box.
Oh, don't put me in a box.
That's it.
I don't belong in a box because I want to be more than what you see me as.
Mm-hmm. You want to be all you can be.
Now I would like to be happy again. But I would like to be more than, are you always happy? No, I can't actually remember last time I was totally happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the question is, and this is a very interesting question, have you ever been totally happy?
Most likely, no, exactly, I don't think so. I think I've had the illusion of happiness.
Yeah,
the thought of happiness, and the you have A, B, and C, so therefore I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Like you got I don't know, you went to the theater, you had dinner, and you had a glass of wine. That equals happy.
Yeah.
Or I
got a new car.
Got a new car.
Happy.
But
got a new puppy in the house. Happy.
Well, that makes you happy.
Right, okay.
That's one of the things that actually makes you, well, it doesn't make you happy, but it makes you feel love.
Yeah, well, that's it.
So that makes you, that's not the same.
That's different, right?
Okay, puppies are unique.
Puppies
are unique.
And then there were puppies.
Yeah. But even puppies poop and pee and stuff.
And they bite like little razors, the little raptors with their pointing their teeth.
So if it's not your puppy.
Yeah.
So you just get the good things. But no, I don't think I've had total happiness.
Yeah, that's the whole point, because
it's been the happiness has been connected to something or someone, or
exactly
it's binded in a way that's not necessarily
and that becomes your total focus, which means then you feel very, very, very happy at that moment. But as soon as your focus shifts to something else, what happens to that happiness?
I'm not happy anymore.
Exactly. And if you actually have a broad view of life, then you don't only feel happiness. You don't only feel sadness. You don't only feel anger. You don't only, because guess what, guys? It's there all the time. All of these emotions are present at every moment inside you. And that's why you can go from being angry to happy. You can go from being sad, depressed, happy, ecstatic, whatever. You can fall in and out of love in how long?
Quarter of a second.
You walk on the bus and bam, there's your, wow, that person. And then they pick their nose. Oh my God, never mind. It's like, there's so many things that we experience as human beings as being very polar. And that's exactly that polar experience that I'm talking about, because, I just want to be happy. I just want to get finished with this, and then I'll be happy. I just want these three things, and then I'll be happy. And then
this is the thing that keeps me from not being happy.
Exactly. That's it right there. And in actuality, when you're truly powerful, nothing on the outside makes you happy or sad.
I've discovered that one.
Yes.
That was fun.
Right? Exactly.
Not fun. People.
It's like,
not fun.
I can hang out and eat chips and drink soda pop and junk out, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. It's going to be weekend. It's Friday or Saturday or whatever it is. I'm going to eat my Saturday candy, right? Because that's going to make me happy. But then when you lose that happiness with that food, for example, guess what? You're no longer addicted to that, and you're no longer addicted to a bad behavior, because honestly, eating lots of junk food is never good for you, really. So the point is that then you have to recalibrate your eating so that your eating is more healthful and balanced, because you're no longer addicted to junk food, right? Then you may not be getting the calories you used to do. And then what happens to your weight?
It drops.
It drops, and your fat percentage does what?
It drops.
Yeah, right. So as
and then you find yourself in a hormone storm.
Yes, exactly. Because the food and calorie quotient that you need doesn't necessarily add up.
No, it sounds like I ate candy every day.
Never.
That's not true.
No.
Just so that said, I was eating a lot of candy, not that much. But no, I don't, because it's not that good anymore.
Yeah, you don't have that same addictive happiness. Okay, I do this and I get happy. Therefore, I eat candy because I can feel like, oh, now I deserve it. I'm relaxed. I'm happy because I'm eating lots of sugar and stuff. And you have that biochemical effect. But mostly, it's not the biochemical effect of candy.
It's part of what it is.
Yes. What does it mean?
It's Friday. It's Saturday evening. It's you're spending time with your husband. It's watching a movie and eating candy equals happiness.
Yes. Exactly. It's all of these things that then you will give yourself the feeling of happiness when you have accomplished. I will be happy when I become world champion. You know how long my world championship happiness lasted?
I would say from half a minute to 2.
Basically. I got the medal. I was on the podium. They took my picture. I got down. I'm like, oh, my body's so tired right now. Oh, I need something to eat. I haven't eaten a solid meal for the last week because I've just been cutting weight, and oh my God. And now people mention me, oh yeah, you're a 3-time world champion. Isn't that amazing? And I'm like, dudes, yeah, great. But I'm not happy in my everyday life because of that thing that happened now because of this whole COVID thing. 3 years ago was the last time. I mean, come on. So the whole point is that my internal emotional state should be regulated by who?
You.
Yes, by me, not by the candy, not by the wine, not by my wife even, not by the people around me. I should regulate myself. So becoming a self-regulating human being is part of actually becoming awake.
I think a lot of people, when we go back a little bit, as you said, not my wife even. I think that's when it's important, because I think a lot of us, if you're in a relationship, you wait for that person to make you happy.
Exactly.
Was it Will Smith that said that it was his job to make him happy and not his wife or something?
Yeah, that's it.
But it's true, because you can't put that on a person. If my job is to make my husband happy, oh my God.
Yeah.
How I don't know what he wants or needs. No. I can try.
Yeah.
But it may go shitway sideways.
Yeah, it will.
It will.
Because what he wants and needs change from moment to moment. And
it's not my job. And again, at one point he's gonna discover, conscious or unconsciously, that he's still not happy, because that thing that you do for your husband or wife or whatever, that doesn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. And then they have an internal crash instead.
Exactly. So there's a few things: congruent polarity, self-regulating, awake person. How do you know that you're enlightened? Those are steps on the way. And that process sometimes is beautiful and sometimes it's ugly, because it's polar, right? Because it's like, okay, now I'm no longer addicted to candy, but my diet is based on getting a certain number of calories every week. So if I'm no longer eating the calories from the candy, I have a deficit in calories, which means that my fat percentage does what?
Drops.
It drops. And then at some point, my low body fat becomes actually, everybody's like, oh, obesity is an issue. Yeah, it is an issue, but also being too thin is an issue. If you're not able to maintain a certain level of body fat, especially as a female, your hormones don't work, meaning that your body goes through a hormone storm, which is absolutely positively horrible for your restitution and health. And your mental emotional stability is also at risk there, because I'm telling you guys, if you're out there, and I know you are, because I get a lot of messages from you. Thank you for the love. Being female and having to deal with the hormone cycle and the menstruation and children and all of that, it is a big deal. It's super complex, and definitely got to respect. You got to respect, and not in the old fashioned stupid way of men respecting or not respecting that. Like, oh my God, oh, I guess it's that time of the month thing.
Oh my God.
I hate that. I hate that. Guys, shut up.
Stop it.
Yeah, just stop it. But in the fact that they're dealing with a lot of fluctuations in their body, where their body actually changes from day to day during their cycle, and you don't have to put up with any of that crap. So give a little bit of latitude. Yeah, I'm talking to you, man. All right. So anyway, back to being self-regulatory. Sometimes we have emotional highs and lows because we are in a biochemical imbalance. So if you are going through a process, you need to really watch your body. You need to watch the things that are important to you in your life, become aware of them so that you don't get shocked or surprised.
And that is one of the things we talked about the other day, was that when you are going through the not yoga pants way of doing this,
Yeah.
like we like to do it,
Yeah.
because we also focus on function, is that your inner process, your spiritual process, or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
should not wreck your
Life.
that you are living.
You need to function.
It should bring it up and
Yes.
make it better.
Mm.
But it's not about the yoga tea and yoga mat, and you might have it, and it's very good if you do, and that's your path. But you shouldn't sell your house as your spiritual process.
Yeah, not necessarily. It has nothing, because
It
your
has-
spiritual
that's not-
process
'cause
has
that's not-
nothing to do with it.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
You shouldn't stop going to work
That's it.
because of your spiritual process.
Exactly.
It
It's not
should.
about dropping
You might
out.
want to change it because you figure out that's not what I want to do with my life. That's different. But you shouldn't drop out of society because now I'm spiritual and I'm clean and I'm.
Yeah,
No.
right. It's
I get-
exactly. Yeah, but that's why we started the integrated human, because it's about integration of the spiritual and the material. It's about function. It's not about disappearing like the hippies used to say. Yeah, man, I'm gonna drop out. I'm gonna drop out and I'm gonna tune in. You know what I'm saying? Shut up. We need to function. We need the people, those of us that are moving in the direction of waking up and being, all of us need to take our role in society. Society needs people who are awake and make the right decisions and are good role models. So please,
I think that's a part of a spiritual self-development journey, is to be better for yourself and the people around you.
yeah, that's it.
That entails then, don't sell your house, don't quit your job if that's not necessary for your process.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because there's two different things. But to sell your house to be more clean,
Yeah.
or more worthy,
More spiritual.
spiritual, isn't that then the total opposite actually?
Yeah, basically.
'Cause you're not
because
free,
you're making
'cause-
something outside. There's something outside you that's just determining the inside. And that's the whole point.
Because it shouldn't matter if you drive or not drive,
Yeah, that's
or
it.
if you have a bicycle, or if you have a Porsche, or if you
Yeah,
have
motorcycle.
a
like
motorcycle.
I do. Yeah.
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah, that's it.
It doesn't matter.
Mm.
But if you feel that defines you, then you're focusing too much on the outside, not on the inside.
That's it. That's it. Because what happens when that disappears? Oh, I'm a world champion. Yeah, but what about the day you can't be a world champion? Are you broken? Ah, but I'm a happy person. Oh, what about the day you're not happy? Oh, but I run a big business. Oh, what happens when you retire? Ooh.
You see there also a lot of it has a name, isn't it? The female good girl something?
Yeah, in Norwegian it's flink pike syndrome, right?
Yeah.
That's
Good girl syndrome.
yeah, the good girl syndrome, where you have to, live up to everybody else's expectations, and you have to be kind of the example, and you have to have, the high education and 5 kids, and grow all your own food, and knit your own sweaters, and sew your kids' clothes, and
I don't like this. This is not me. yeah, but you're on a sick leave. Yeah, but that's not me. I don't want. This is not who I am. Like, no, but
Yeah.
I don't judge you for being on a sick leave. More, I hope it's a reason that you are on it, that you're not taking advantage of the Norwegian welfare system, and I don't think you are.
Yeah.
So then it's a reason for it. So wouldn't it go faster if you just accepted the reason and work with that instead of using that little energy you actually have to tell everyone how you're on a sick leave, but you don't need to be on a sick leave?
Yeah, exactly. But again, that's toxic performance personality as well. Like I said, there's a toxic positivity, just like there's a toxic performance mentality, right?
But you have to justify why you can't do that one thing that you think everyone thinks that you should do.
Yeah, because in
all of
way,
that is in your head.
It's all in your head. Like, man, your back is all messed up. You can't go to work. So you feeling shame and blame and all this stuff with the fact that you're not at work doesn't really help you, does it? The fact is your back's messed up and you can't go to work. Okay, accept the fact. That's where I am right now. I want to get better as fast as I can. And people are so worried about other people judging them. You know, like, to go back a little bit, we were talking about the fact that one of the greatest fears we have is public speaking. And why is that? It's because being ostracized, being shunned by society is a death sentence in primal culture. So in our DNA, in our psychologies, in the way we teach our children, there's a lot of history. And that history is, don't get shunned by the tribe because you will die.
Okay, for us that doesn't have English as our first language, what's the shunned?
Shunned means
what does that mean?
Kicked out, exiled.
Thank you.
Not accepted.
Thank you.
We
learned a new word today.
Homies, yeah. Ostracized. That's a good one. Yes, shunned.
Shunned.
Yes. Don't be shunned.
Don't be shunned. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So in our DNA, we have this history, we have this deep understanding that the group is important, right? So there's a lot of these mechanisms that our mothers and fathers
and teachers and preachers
told us exactly in our growing up, because in a way, as a child, you need to know that, okay, this is good, little Joey, and that's bad, Susie, and Susie, that was really good, and Joey, shame on you, and all of these things that you have to know where the limits are before you understand the system. But part of becoming an adult, part of freeing yourself up as a real adult, is to get rid of all of the shame and blame and all of the trauma that you got as a child from your mothers and fathers.
And teachers and preachers.
Yeah, that were trying to tell you how to navigate society without being ostracized or shunned, right? But once you understand how things work,
then you don't need those guidelines
You don't
anymore.
need those
It's
guidelines.
Like you have the kid, you learn how to bike and you had these things on the side.
Training wheels.
Training wheels. I had them on for way too long. I didn't learn how to ride a bicycle until I was 7.
Now she rides like a champ.
And not bicycles anymore. But anyway.
Motorcycles.
But it was, I had those on.
Yeah.
For way too long.
Mm.
And that's a different story. But that's the same. Like you don't, at one point you don't need them.
You don't need them.
But you don't, it's not as easy as you have a bicycle and you can see the training wheels and take them off. It's not that easy necessarily to see what your mothers and fathers and teachers and preachers have put on you.
That's it. And that's why this internal process, this meditative process is so important. Because before the age of 12, you're basically walking around in halfway hypnosis. You accept the way things are, right? And you don't really look at them again, or you don't necessarily get a chance to look at them unless you do some kind of internal work. Why is it that some guys are absolutely positively obsessed with a certain kind of car, a certain kind of thing? It's probably because they were stamped at some point in their childhood that this is good. This is if you do this, then you're accomplished.
There was a commercial that you went on when you was a kid I got a golden retriever because of a movie I was watching over and over and over and over again when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's it, right? So we are affected by our environment as children. We're basically we're these sponges that are just just recording all the things that are happening around us. And for some reason, some emotional state at some point gets you locked onto one thing, and that's your thing. Or that, why is it that people want to ride their motorcycles when they're 50? Why is it that they want a Harley Davidson? Why is it they want a fast car? Whereas for another person, that's the furthest thing from their mind. They're just all about their garden. They're all about something else. Ever think about that? It's interesting why you do what you do. Now, very often it's because you have these little hooks that I talk about, these emotional hooks that if I get my pizza and I get my wine and I get my relaxed movie with my husband, I'm happy. Why does that make you happy? You give yourself happiness when those things are in a constellation. It's because for some reason that has equated to happiness for you. Candy is happiness. Well, at some point when you are able to snap that hook off, you become free to give yourself happiness, even though you may not get all three of those things. What if you just get time with your husband and you get a pizza, but you don't get your wine and your movie? Are you happy then? Are you going to give yourself happiness? Or are you just going to be like, I didn't get my wine and I didn't get my movie, so screw this. This is not good enough. Poor husband, right? He wants a happy wife, beautiful guy that he is. So the whole point is that understanding this process and how important it is for you to be really well, really happy, and actually very effective in your life is super important. Now, that's spiritual seekers. But what about the drug tweakers? Now, there's a huge movement, and this comes from hippie days. People realized in the 50s in America that this, hat wearing, suit wearing, ultra conservative society was just going to break us. There's no happiness there. People are all looking good, and on the surface, everything was polished. But mom was at home taking Valium to get through her days, and she's super depressed. And it was just, there's a lot of things that were out of balance then, right? So the hippies came in the 60s and 70s, and they were basically trying to break things loose. Now, some of them did that with narcotics or drugs. Some of them did that with meditation, like Ram Dass. He was one of the guys who originally, with Timothy Leary, brought up LSD, and they traveled inward with drugs, and they also traveled to India to meet gurus and spiritual teachers. Especially Ram Dass, he did that. And he wrote a book called Be Here Now. And that's an interesting book if you want some perspective on this thing. And they actually did some research on magic mushrooms. And 83% of the people who took the magic mushrooms said up to 2 years afterwards that was one of the 5 most expansive and important events in their whole life. And you're thinking, what? Taking magic mushrooms? Well, come on, that's drugs, Jason. I'm not telling you to do drugs. I don't do drugs. Not like that. Not for that reason. And I don't recommend you do unless it's under very strict environmental control. But my point is that doing things that expand your mind, expand your heart, expand your perception can give you a different look at your life and can free you up in so many ways, because we are bound by a lot of the things we think we are.
Or think you should be.
And then suddenly you get let out of the box. And once you've had a strong experience of being let out of the box, you will always look at things slightly different.
But then again, like you said, it has to do with going outside the box, and you can use magic mushrooms, but you can also jump off a plane or
exactly
do all that kind of it's a reason why you have extreme sport.
Yeah, because people in essence want to get high. And when I say high, I don't mean high on drugs necessarily,
but get out of the box. Exactly. And out of the restriction
freed
that
up.
they are in.
They want to be high on love. They want to be high on spirit. They want to be high on meaning. They want to be high on connection. They want to be high on all these things. And we search for that often by jumping out of a plane or getting drunk or going to a party or taking drugs. But what happens is that when we get addicted to those things, because if I then do these things, I get happy.
If I do these things, I get a out-of-box experience.
Out-of-box experience, right? Then you're dependent on those things to give you that out-of-box experience.
And usually those tools are not legal.
Yeah.
They are expensive.
Yes.
And they're not very good for your health in the long run.
Yeah, very often the case. And I was talking to a person, they were like, yeah, man, but you know, what you don't take the drugs? And I'm like, I don't need them. I meditate. I'm fine. I'm completely out of the box when I meditate. I find that place inside myself. And they're like, well, I think, isn't that just spiritual ego? And I'm like, wow, well done. You know about spiritual ego, but no, I'm talking about my own experience. Not that my experience is better than yours. But what I do know is this, guys. Meditation and yoga, to a certain extent, can prepare your nervous system for that out-of-box experience. And there are different levels of that out-of-box experience that you can have. Very often, taking magic mushrooms or DMT and things that you can hear about, it's becoming more and more popular. And that's why I'm preparing your minds for this. You will hear about these things. You can get the same experience and legal through your own inner research. You don't necessarily have to break the box with something that's chemical. Okay, so when you are working with illegal substances, it's illegal and it's in a certain environment to start with. And of course, your body has to be quite healthy. These guys like Ramdas, they would literally prepare their bodies to take these substances so that they get the maximal spiritual evolution out of it, right? Because you have to come back to society and be able to function. So if you're drinking or your alcohol habit or your drugs, or you get basically addicted to the drugs or addicted to that thing so that you need that thing to get out of the box, then you become a slave. And that's the opposite of freedom. Because what I always, you and I talk, I always tell you, I want one thing for you. And what is that?
Freedom.
Freedom. That's it. Freedom. When you have the freedom, you break out of that box. You're not dependent on outside input. You are self-regulating. And only then can you truly express your full potential. And it's exciting. And it's beautiful. And fun to watch. So, spiritual seekers, drug tweakers, and then we got freakers. Okay? Now, the Vedas, the ancient Vedas, talked about crazy people being enlightened in a different way. And why is that? It's because people who are quote unquote crazy don't necessarily live after the same paradigm that you do. In fact, they're not agreeing to our narrative. They're not agreeing to the way we look at things. So being a freaker can, of course, if it's in a non-dangerous way, be a very nice way of experiencing yourself outside the box. But you still have to work in society, meaning that be eccentric, my friends. It's okay. Be you when you're expressing your unique soul. You know, Picasso, do you think he was a unique soul?
Oh, yeah.
He was, and he expressed himself. You know, you read some of the stuff that he did. He talked about, you know, even he talked about dance. People don't know that he was a dancer as well. And he talked about he was the dance. He was dance when he was dancing, you know, losing yourself. And we're so busy trying not to lose control of ourselves that we can't give ourselves fully to a process. But everybody who is a high level performer knows that when you're really performing, there is no you. When I'm fighting a championship, I no longer exist. It's only the fight. I'm light in energy and it's just the fight. There's no Jason there, right? Saying, I know you have experienced that as well. You disappear. That means that emotionally, you have explored the depths of your happiness, the depths of your sadness, the depths of your anger so much that you can just completely open up all the valves. So some people put themselves in danger's way to experience that. What's that called?
Stupidity.
Extreme sport. Extreme sport, right? Hey bro, check my parachute. Right? Do you even jump out of planes? And other people actually get that experience through their lives, through that inner work that they're doing. They allow themselves to be really angry. Like really angry. And they allow themselves to be really depressed or really happy. And you can get that kind of exercise of your internal world through being in what you're in. Doesn't mean you have to get stuck, because again, that's another thing. It's not about getting stuck in one emotion. It's about giving yourself the latitude and the ability to be really what you are. Today I'm angry. Why? I don't know. Nobody's done anything wrong, but I'm fucking angry. When was the last time you experienced that?
No.
Yes, right?
Well, I'm not angry. I have anger.
Yeah, that's it. Aha. Well done. Well done. That's right. Fist bump on that one.
I've been furious for, I can't, so long.
Yeah, and which is a very powerful emotion. And it's an emotion of transition. It's an emotion of doing. It's an emotion of making things happen. You know, there's a lot of power in anger.
It's anger, when it's directed, is very nice. Right now, it's not directed, so it's just on the inside.
Yeah.
But I did the same with depression, and I'm not in depression anymore. So I hopefully I'm gonna get out of this one as well.
Yeah, I will. Of course, you will.
Like I said, we're not. My famous sentence is that it's not getting better, it's changing. Yeah. But when you're done, it's changed. You go, please, can take me back.
Take me back.
Let me get depressed again, because that was better than this. Yeah. And then you change to another one. You go, please
give me my anger back.
Please give me my anger back, because that's better than this.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's a constant process.
Exactly.
It's gonna be worth it. It is worth it.
It is worth it.
But it's not always pleasant.
It's not always fun or pleasant, right?
But that's why it's very important to have a support system, especially if you go hard into it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
At least because again, you shouldn't wreck your marriage because you're going through your process.
That's right.
So I had a conversation with my husband about it. I said, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Please
be with me. Lots gonna think may happen. It's not you.
It's not.
It's really not you. It is me. Mm-hmm. And then he had to go through a process where he had to really accept that he can't do anything.
No, it's not his job.
As a man, just want to fix it. Like, you can't fix this.
No.
I don't want you to fix it. It's nothing you can fix.
Right.
It just has to be.
That's it.
And hopefully it's going to be over soon.
Well, life never ends.
Oh, but that
ends, right?
you are in.
But that
you're
whole
be
expanding your repertoire, your emotional repertoire, really understanding your internal world, and then suddenly congruently living with that polarity, then you have power. Then you have real power.
And that's why I said in the beginning of this podcast, I said that I'm tired of it put in a box.
Yeah.
It's not. I use my energy, the energy I have. I use it on the things that are important in my life. I use it on my work.
Yep.
I use it on the really close one, and I do not have energy for family dinners or whatever it is. Not now.
Yeah,
that's not happening now.
That's it.
It's not. I'm doing this, but my life still has to function. So I do what is necessary for function.
Yes.
And then the rest has to wait for now.
And imagine the moment when you can do all of the things that you do and have total joy.
I'm going to tell you guys about it.
Yes.
When that happens. Not there yet.
Unconditional love.
When I'm there, I will make a 2-hour-long podcast. Yeah. It's so much fun. So much worth it. You guys should do it.
Oh, man. But it's really that way, because if you think about it, everything is just a series. Your life is just a series of moments, moment to moment. So what do you want to feel? You're like, oh, I want to feel love and happiness. Well, you know what? Happiness is not something you can have every moment, because happiness is not always the right emotion, is it?
No.
You know, I am at my mom's funeral. You want me to be happy? I think that's not really, doesn't resonate, does it? But can I have unconditional love there? Yeah. Can I have unconditional love when I'm yelling at somebody? Can I have unconditional love when I'm driving? Can I have unconditional love when I'm working out? Can I have unconditional love when I'm fighting in World Championship? Yes. So unconditional love is the thing that you're actually searching for. That's the question you can ask yourself. Is there a situation where unconditional love would be inappropriate? Now, again, we talked about it. Just because you have love for a person doesn't mean you have to accept what they're doing as accept them, but you don't have to approve of everything they do. And you don't have to allow everything they do. Like a mother loves their child, but doesn't let them throw food, right? It's like one of those things. A mother that loves their child will scold them if they do something dangerous for them because you don't want them to burn their fingers on the fire, on the stove or whatever, right? So the whole point is that unconditional love is the universal feeling. And imagine being able to fill your heart with that. Imagine being able to hold that. How powerful would you be in your life if that was the case? And that's why you want to do that kind of work. That's why you want to live in a body that's gone through that process. That's why you want to be a spiritual seeker, not a drug tweaker, and definitely not a freaker. So meditate, my friends. Don't take drugs. And don't jump out of planes unless you absolutely have to. Now, I'm into all that. Just be aware. Be yourself. And pay attention to what you're doing and what results you're getting. Very good. So, remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared. And then your energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.